Macca through to the next round, a lot of positives to touch on, but I just want to start with credit to both sides in what was a proper English non-league, proper cup tie.
I thought so, yeah. There was a certain atmosphere, there was loads of energy in the game. Sometimes during the game they ebbed and flowed and end to end. So yeah, there was a great tempo to the game, a great real commitment from both sets of players. But in all honesty, I felt that we showed real moments of quality, large spells in the game where we had some good quality, some good bravery to play out, and even our press was executed very, very well and was fruitful in that second half. So, really, really delighted. But I do think that on reflection, we were a better side across the 90 minutes. So, worthy winners in my opinion. But hats off to Salisbury, even going 4-1 down, they showed that real grit and determination to keep pushing and keep creating and causing us problems and taking a couple of chances and making it really interesting in those last closing minutes.
What a start, a fantastic start. Hawley back in the team, he really showed his joy of being back out on the pitch after a few games on the bench. But for Will Sullivan to get that goal early, it really set the tone for what was a fantastic display from the young man up front.
Well, absolutely. We spoke before the game very much around forcing mistakes, having real energy. We've got a team of players that love to go and hunt the ball, go and press the ball. And it was really important for us to force mistakes, and that's where Will's goal comes from. Not giving things up, really pushing and pressing, trying to block things, and he takes his goal really, really well and gives us a fantastic start. But I've touched upon things over the last couple of weeks and spoken to you about the squad and players that come in and get opportunities and earning opportunities and then taking their opportunities to stay in the team. And Hawley's had to be patient. He's had to be patient on the side of the pitch and make impact from the bench, and he has done that in recent weeks. And today he was up an opportunity to start the game, and he showed his energy, his engine, and his quality as well. And it's fantastic to see him popping up in the box to score some goals. And it just goes to show that when you have a squad performing week in, week out, that when a player gets an opportunity, they're ready to step up and deliver. And to a man today, every single player that got on that pitch today, whether they started or came off the bench, everyone contributed massively, made a huge impact. Gunner coming off the bench, going up top as a lone striker, won headers, was strong, was physical, put pressure on the opposition, worked hard back, and the boys backed him up. Even Millie coming on at right back, it's not his favoured position, but his athleticism and his understanding of the game shows that he's aggressive with his defending, and he's calm and collected on the ball. And the boys galvanised almost when they were coming on, because they knew that they had to up their game because the changes are being made, and they need to make sure those boys feel settled in the team. So really, really delighted for everyone today.
It was a blistering first half. I didn't think the second half could live up to it. It did. What was said at half time was it take a breath, take a moment? Well, we were playing a high line at times.
Yeah, well, I thought the discussion we had at half time was very much around, obviously they've changed their shape and gone 3 at the back, and the way that their wing backs were pushed quite high. The last thing we wanted to do was have our wingers drop in and give them possession for 45 minutes, and sit in and try and soak up pressure. It wasn't one of those. It was going, if they're going to push really, really high, let's get our front 3 up against their back 3 and try and force mistakes. And the 2 goals that we scored in that second half come from being really brave and being on the front foot and stealing the ball and counter-attacking with real pace. We knew that they had pace in attacking areas, and it was about understanding that we need support in those wide areas. Once that first defender gets out there, keep him on the outside of the box if we can do, but also have a second defender close if they cut inside. We've got those bodies. So it's just tactical kind of little tweaks and reminding players that the last thing that we can do is go out in that second half and be flat. And once the chat at half time was quite short, because if there's not a great deal wrong, you don't want to kind of mess with it too much. But it was just a couple of little tactical things. In the last 5 minutes, we're like, look, we can't make although all of our discussions are had, we've got to make sure that we're buzzing and we go out and start the second half on the front foot. And it took us a little bit of time to go. It was one of those things where sometimes it can happen. The opposition come out with a real determination, but yeah, to go 4-1 up and in the way that we did, and then show some real resilience. I can't wait to see the penalties back. Obviously, the first one was an absolute stone waller, but the second one, nobody even asked for the penalty. It was just one of those things that was just given. So, but absolutely delighted. Yeah, brilliant that we're in the next round, and it'll be interesting to see who we get.
I don't think Mac touched the player in the first half, but hey, that's my opinion. We'll have to.
You must have had a better view than me. I thought it was absolute stone waller. Really.
Rio getting his goal.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been due one for weeks and weeks and weeks, and he got it. It was another fantastic counter attack and breakaway and Barciala, but for him personally to get his goal.
Well, absolutely. We spoke about the role of our midfield players. We kind of reflected on our game last week, and with Jacob up top, he's somebody who naturally breaks into the box, and we didn't have that as much last week, and it kind of cost us to a certain extent. But how we spoke about things was really, really important, that Jacob continues to make his runs into the box, continues to make his runs beyond the centre forward, but Rio playing a little bit higher, being a little bit higher and trusting Carlo to get on the ball a little bit. And Rio recognised the time to drop in and make an extra man in midfield and help us build, but he also recognised, actually I can get forward and get into those attacking positions. The amount of times he popped up in the box today was probably more than he has done all season, and that's something that he needs to kind of like recognise and go, we'll remind him anyway, but it's important for him to understand that he can do both jobs. And it gives us real balance, and it gives us so much more of a goal threat if we can get more midfield players and not just relying on one or two getting into the box. So really, really delighted for him. He's going to be disappointed that James scored the first one because it was an overline off the crossbar, but he's absolutely buzzing because all I've heard all day is that he scored 2 goals 4 years ago against Salisbury. So we said to him before the game, well, you due a goal, let's grab one today, and I'm absolutely delighted for him, and the rest of the boys are outstanding today.
Yeah, we can be delighted this evening, there's no doubt about that, but we've got to look ahead. Tuesday night, massive, such a tough fixture, Dorchester on a Tuesday night under the lights up there. Great little pitch, a great pitch they've got. It's important for us to kind of put this to bed and focus kind of from tomorrow onwards.
Well, absolutely. I think that tonight, I think this afternoon has given us, or given the boys a little bit of an extra buzz. They're really looking forward to going into Tuesday. The way that we're playing, the pitch should really suit us, but we know that Dorchester are going to be really aggressive. We've had them already once this season here, and the tempo they started that game, we're going to expect it again, so we're going to make sure that we get out the blocks nice and early. We expect that physical test and everything to be bombarded on us, and there's going to have moments where we're going to have to sit in shape and suffer out of possession. But the way the boys are playing, like I said, that when you get an opportunity to start in this team right now, you have to deliver, because there's boys itching to play.
Yeah.
Boys itching to play, and when they do play and when they do come off the bench, they're making an impact, and that's a really healthy position for us to be in. We're hoping to have Taylor back. He got through today and with some ball striking, so he should be back on the bench and available. And again, we've got really, really good players that are coming back from injury or suspension, and they're not walking straight back into the team, because everyone who's on the pitch and starting games is delivering, and that's a really, really good place for me. But I have to have conversations with players, and leaving players out is the worst part of the job.
Yeah, good luck with that. Just Shane as well, warming up.
It's fantastic to see, isn't it? He's been super patient waiting for his operation, but he's kept himself ticking over as much as he possibly can, and since his operation he's been proactive in and around the boys. He's been a fantastic captain off the pitch with us, and he's been here. Same with Rocky, whenever he's been out, they've been around the boys and driving those boys. So it just shows the togetherness of the squad. But to see him out on the pitch with a ball at his feet again is fantastic. And we're not getting ahead of ourselves. He's got a little bit of a journey to go in terms of ticking those boxes, making sure that he's strengthening that knee up, because it would have had a lot of muscle wastage over those months. And it's a case of just being patient with him and not rushing people back. But when he's back, he'll certainly galvanise the group, and having him in and around the dressing room is fantastic for us.
Macca, in the next round, don't enjoy one side of the night, enjoy a few.
We'll see.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.